G'day guys, and welcome again to Phil and Jen in the Philippines. And as you know, I'm here in Australia, but today's video will be about the politics of the Philippines. I know it's an untouchable subject to talk about when you're in the Philippines, but I'm not in the Philippines. As you know, I'm in Australia, so I can now talk about it. And the reason I'm going to talk about it is the politics in the Philippines does have an effect on everybody that resides there, including Filipinos, and of course any expats that decide to live there. Because sooner or later, you're going to have to understand how Filipino politics works, why it works or why it doesn't work, and this is one of the reasons I'll do this vlog. But before we go any further, as usual, can you subscribe? Can you comment? Can you ring the notifications bell? Thumbs up, all that type of thing, so I can progress with this particular vlogging. Getting onto the Philippines political system. Coming from a democratic country and seeing how democracy in this country works and observing it in the United States and Canada and other such places where democracy has taken hold, you may know a little bit about the Philippines in as far as in the 40s and whatever, when it became independent from the United States completely, and the Constitution was brought into place and they adopted a kind of bastardized American democracy. And I say that not disparagingly, but it's slightly different. But they took on democratic principles as far as their election processes is concerned. And they took the template from the US. The situation, as far as I've been able to observe, is that in a country that's made up, a third world country or a developing country, that is made up of the larger percentage of the population is under the poverty line and live a subsistence living, it's open to manipulation. Now, when I say that, when your income is on a day-to-day basis and you're using that income for survival and you haven't got savings, you don't own land, and you can't, for want of a better word, contribute to the country, your vote is, to a certain degree, are wasted, or can, when I say wasted, it can be manipulated and used for nefarious purposes. The system, now I've been in the Philippines for 3 major elections, and as anyone that's lived in the Philippines for any period of time, it is looked upon as a period of time where poor people can make money. And without sugarcoating it, the only way they make money is the votes are purchased. For every political tier that goes on in that electoral period, people are handing out money to obtain the vote of those people. And when you consider that the majority of the voters will sell their souls for another day of food or a small pittance of money to get through the next day or the next couple of days, of course they're open to the corrupt practice of buying votes. Now, the Electoral Commission in the Philippines is a body that are supposed to police this, but it's almost farcical. Everyone knows it goes on. Every voter in the rural areas look forward to it because it's an opportunity to trade their votes for money. It's a money-making exercise. And of course, if you've got a small percentage of the population which exist because of their political connections, and you can't get anything in this country without connections. It's not so much what you know, it's who you know. So if you work on that premise, and everyone's got to align themselves with the political party for their own benefit, the very small percentage of people in this country that, or in the Philippines, that have money back political candidates financially. And that distribution of funds filters down at the different tiers of government, and they attain allies within the political spectrum by giving money which is known to be distributed amongst the population to buy the vote. And it doesn't take a genius to realise that a lot of money is spread around, and it's not really a democratic system as we know it. Now, we can be skeptical and say that basically it happens in the West as well through nefarious means, advertising, whatever it happens to be. But this is just absolutely blatant. In the middle of the night, a man will come with a sack, and of course they're in control of of the voting booths anyway, and they make sure that they've paid out their 100 pesos or their 200 pesos for that vote. The chap or the lady turns up, and the pressure is put on them to vote the way that they've sold their vote to, and it's observed the whole time. So they go through this absolute farce and this appearance of democracy when it is a vote buying process. Now, that may be the way of the Philippines. They may be happy with it and whatever. But this is why the entrenched corruption is going to be so difficult to eliminate from the system in the Philippines. It goes right through from presidential, senators, congressmen, lord mayors, barangay captains, and everyone in between is buying a vote, or buying a vote via favour, or, as crude as it is, here's the cash and you will do this. And that's the way the system runs. And you can't, with these people that are only interested in tomorrow and the next day, you can't promise them what may happen if you put me into power or you into power or such and such a candidate in power, that in 6 months' time, this will happen if you vote us in. They're not interested in what may or may not happen in 6 months' time. They're interested in what happens tomorrow and how they can feed their kids the next day, the next day, the next day. So it's instantaneous reward for what they consider to be, a superfluous, ridiculous thing on voting. The enthusiasm for politics here is the fact that everyone can make money. And then, of course, you've got political figures which zealously protect their positions, and any protagonist that comes along and is opposition to that political party are eliminated, either via normal political means, by discrediting them. And we even get up into the situation, it's not something that's difficult to look up, the amount of political assassinations from Lord Mayor to congressmen and senators or ex or whatever political entities in this country. It's only a matter of going to Google and putting in political assassinations in the Philippines, and you are then met with literally dozens and dozens of assassinations that have taken place and continue to take place to this day. In fact, where I was living in Miitum, 3 of the last 5 Lord Mayors had been ambushed and killed by political opponents. Now, rather than dramatise this, I say to you, be aware of how volatile politics is in this country, and do not get involved in any way, shape or form, because you are a long way from home, you're way out of your depth, and at the very least, if you are in opposition in any way, at the very least, and possibly the very best, they'll make sure you exit the country. It doesn't matter what visa you're on. At the very worst, God knows what may happen. So that's Philippines politics, and that's what makes it so very difficult to correct the problems over here. And the unfortunate thing is the voters have been educated along the lines of this is the way things happen in the Philippines. So an opposition is very, very difficult to keep cohesive, and even if you do have an opposition, you've got to participate in this ridiculous vote buying scheme to get into a position to oppose the powers that may be in, even on a local government level. So ignoring that particular fact it's the taboo subject. Politics is bad enough to talk about in any country, let alone in a country where everyone is armed and they think nothing of assassinating the problem. So that's politics in the Philippines. There's a lot more to it. Keep that in mind. I hope you enjoyed the vlog. It is something I couldn't talk about in the Philippines for obvious reasons, but that's it for me today. Interesting. Think about it. If you avoid it, you won't have any problem with it, but it's very difficult to avoid. It's Phil and Jen in the Philippines, Phil in Australia. Cheers for now. Subscribe, ring the bell, notifications, and I love the comments. Cheers, guys.